All right. Oh, hi puppies. Oh, are we all joining in? Oh, Griffey. Are we all joining in on the party today? Do you want to say hi? All right, come on up. All right, hello and welcome back. Today we are finally getting into the 1890s actual making. Spoiler alerts. We've already done the underwear, the corset, the petticoats, so now it's time to move to the outerwear, so the actual like ensemble itself, the piece that you're going to see. Now, for those of you who are like into this community and into this genre and niche on YouTube, you have probably already started to see people putting out videos about doing Disney history cosplays. So Steen has done one, Bernadette's done a couple videos. Thank you, Subasa. Nicole has put out some videos, Noelle's been doing videos, Marika. I think that's everyone that's put out stuff so far that I am aware of. I know other creators are also doing videos, and I think that Noelle has done a playlist. IDK, I don't really know, I don't remember. I will try to remember to put something in the description, so that way if you guys are curious, you can find it. I am totally botching this intro, anywho.
My, but it does look nice. So grown up. Won't Jock and Trusty be surprised?
I'm like really laying into my dog mom. I have decided to do a personification. I can't remember the exact word for this, but basically I'm gonna be doing Lady from Lady and the Tramp. I actually love Lady and the Tramp. I grew up watching Lady and the Tramp as a kid. Obviously, I like dogs. Hi, buddy. And a human. Like, what would a human... Can you not lick my microphone? I'm like soaking wet now from his snot, like his snoot, and it feels like I've just sweated through my whole shirt. Anywho, what I am also very excited about with this project is the fact that while it does look like Lady and I'm designing and picking colors based off of Lady, the 1950s animated version of Lady, not the 2020, 2019 like remake that came to life, even though the costumes in that are fantastic. They're so good. This color combination of this tannish brown, this warm, bronzy, brownish color with the light blue was actually very popular and was a trend in the late 90s. So it is also completely on point when it comes to late 1890s color design and aesthetics. So I'm just super stoked to have a great day wear 1890s outfit that also doubles as a Disney cosplay. So that is what we're doing. And today we are making the skirt. Now, before we get into the making process, I do want to just kind of cover the bounds of history in which we are working with this. So as you all know, I love using original sources and primary sources and original pieces to help frame my reconstruction work and to help frame my sewing process. To me, it helps me better understand the people of that era, the aesthetics of that era, how people moved in their clothing, things like that. Like if I cut corners, for me, it doesn't result in the same experience because when I put the garment on, it will not behave the same way. And that's what I want. I want the pieces to behave in the same way that the original pieces, I believe, would have. And the way that I do that is by looking at the originals and looking at the original patterns and the original construction methods, and then reproducing that in my own work as best as I can to the best of my ability. So the research that we're going to be using to recreate the skirt, we're going to be using the same book that we used for the silk petticoat and underskirt. We are also going to be using an original skirt from my collection. It's from a little bit earlier in the 1890s based off the matching bodice that goes with it, but it's one of the only mid 1890s skirts that I have that I know are mid 1890s, and it also is the shape that I like. So we're using only primary source documentation when it comes to construction methods and patterns. But before we get to sewing, I do want to give a quick thank you to the sponsor of this week's video, HelloFresh, because as always, they have saved my butt numerous times when it comes to compulsively working on a project, but needing to eat real food and not just cereal. I'm gonna be honest, while I love cooking, I hate menu planning. Most of my day is spent focused on work, and taking time to sit and try to think up recipes to make for dinner just sends me into a stress spiral that leaves me super grumpy. We've been using HelloFresh now for several months, and I am thrilled with their product and service. There are loads of great meal options for all different dietary wants and needs, from low carb to vegetarian, and HelloFresh has more 5-star recipes than any other meal kit. It's such a huge weight off of my shoulders to be able to end my workday, walk into my kitchen, grab a meal kit, and just make it without having to dig through my fridge or pantry for ingredients. I'm also really bad about buying more than I need at a grocery store, so I love how HelloFresh only sends exactly what I need, and there's hardly any wasted food. Thanks to HelloFresh, I also know that I'm eating at least one vegetable a day. 10 points to adulting. In addition to making my life so much easier, HelloFresh is committed to making everyone's life a bit better with a push towards sustainability, with recyclable packaging and offsetting their carbon footprint, to donating meals to those in need. If you would like to give HelloFresh a try, go to HelloFresh.com and use the code 12Abby to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's right, you'll get 12 free meals, including free shipping, if you go to HelloFresh.com and use the code 12Abby. Thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. And now, let's make a skirt. So I'm using the same pattern, and I've gone in and I've lengthened it a little bit, and I've tried to trim up the seams a little bit because they were like all over the place. The length going to end up being an 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gourd skirt. I've also marked out where I'm gonna cut the interfacing, because in these skirts, the bottom like 6 to 10 inches has a layer of interfacing. The skirt that I'm using as a reference has basically what we would call like a canvas or a linen buckram, not like a millinery buckram, but other ones I have used tarlatan. So I've bought tarlatan, and so I'm going to go ahead and use tarlatan. First time using tarlatan, so I'm kind of excited about it actually. So the fabric I'm using for my skirt is a medium weight polished cotton twill, which is similar to what I see in my antique skirts. The weight and weave of skirt linings depends on the type of fashion fabric you're using, and I wanted to make sure that the skirt had enough body to hold it out to that fashionable shape. Additionally, the silk fabric is pretty hefty, and it needs a lining with a little bit more bulk to it. I started the whole project by cutting off the lining and then the tarlatan interlining. Once the interlining was cut, I basted it to the lining and then stitched it into place at the top. This is just like how it's done in my original 1890s skirt, and also matches with the instructions found in Margaret Blair's System of Garment Drafting book. Once the interlining was attached, I basted the seams of the skirt together in order to try it on to see if any major changes or alterations were needed before cutting out the silk. Vicious, vicious. Come here, you're gonna be like that. We gotta make you naked. We know the rules. So we're gonna just kind of test it to see how it fits. I've just kind of roughly pleated it in the back. So you can see I got the petticoat on, and this is kind of a heavier weight polished cotton, and then we do have the tarlatan interfacing on it. So the silk will go over top of this, but you can see see how that sits out? How great, ignore the mess. Do you see how that sits out? Like how good that looks? Like how nicely it hangs. And then we have really great fullness in the skirts, and it's really easy to walk. It does not get in the way. So I think overall we're good to go. Just need to be careful fitting the waist when it's ready. So I think I'm ready to actually cut out the silk fabric. So what's nice about this process of trying on the lining first is now it's super easy to cut out the silk for the skirt with as little waste as possible, and ensuring everything is also right side up, because I don't have enough fabric to screw that up that bad. Once all the pieces were cut out, I basted the layers together using very large basting stitches. Then it's time to stitch the seams down. Down? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Oh well, you guys know what I mean. So just a quick update, pieces have now all been seamed together from top to bottom. And now I'm going through, I've pressed all the seams open and now I'm going through and I'm overcasting the seams. I'm sorry guys if this is shaking really bad. And then once the seams are overcast, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna add a pocket to the back right side seam and can seam up the back, add the waistband, hem it, call it good. But first, overcasting for the rest of the afternoon and pocket. So let's get to it. This is where I deviated a little bit from my original skirt because I needed to. See, the silk I'm using is gorgeous, but with that woven design, there is a lot of fraying. And catch stitching down the raw edges is going to help keep the seams from spewing their guts out all over the place and making me absolutely freaking miserable. I didn't make tiny stitches, they're just there to keep everything flat, and I made sure to only go through the lining of the skirt and not to the outer silk fabric. Though, you know what? If a couple stitches here or there pop out, it's not gonna hurt anybody. Overcasting's done on the side seams. The top has been overcast and now I need to draft out the pocket and then start the process of putting that in. So I have found some instructions from How to Cut, Fit, and Finish a Dress by Mademoiselle Lefvol, and it's from 1892. So it's a little bit earlier, but it has step-by-step instructions. So I'm gonna follow those instructions, and based off of my originals, it's all kind of, you make a pocket, you shove it in a seam and you call it good. So, but I'm gonna follow her instructions to kind of make it as nice as possible, and I'm gonna put it side back seam, which is going to be buried into the pleats of the skirt. Most of my originals that have pockets, the pockets are on the right side because right hand dominance, and they're usually towards the back somewhere. They're not usually towards the front unless it's a bustle skirt. So that's my plan. Okay, so I don't really have much to say about this pocket other than I was really confused by a part of the instructions for ages, and actually while editing this video I realized what I was supposed to do to make it exactly like the instructions, but I'm not gonna actually tell you what it was because I like to be mysterious. I don't know. Okay, so I've got the pocket in and it looks great. 0 out of 10 recommend doing it the way that I did it. Definitely if you commit to the pocket, commit to it before you seam it up. It's really dumb of me. And I'm going to move on for now, just starting to work on the placket. Okay, so just to kind of show you guys what this placket looks like. It's been gathered in just a little bit up here to kind of narrow it just a scotch, but it's just a piece of the fabric folded in half, stitched here with the machine. They didn't even bother to trim that. You do, sis. They've basted this part over, but then they machine stitched it down. It looks like just from one side. Yeah, so they just did one stitch up here. And it feels as if the raw edges probably going about 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch. You can see this side's just folded over. And they just kind of tapered the edge out here so it's not at the full seam allowance. So then that way it just kind of lays behind like that. Okay, so is it me or does anyone else get like totally overwhelmed by the idea of a placket? Seriously, this is like one of the reasons why I love studying originals, because in my pea brain, I overthink the hell out of plackets, trying to make them super complicated and weird when in reality, it's just a little rectangle of fabric tacked onto one side of the skirt. Like, I don't know why my brain decided years ago that a placket was like the most complicated thing of all time, but it now has been proven wrong. So there you go, brain. 10 out of 10, easy to do. And don't overthink things, kids. It's not worth it. Good morning. Okay, so we are back at it, and where we're at today, pleat up the back, get the back sorted out, add the waistband and get that all stitched. And then once the waistband's on and that's all done, then I'm gonna seam up the back of the center back of the skirt, and then I'm gonna let the skirt hang overnight, and then I'm gonna come back and even up the hem and then do the hem. So that's where we're at. We're literally like just a few steps out from getting this thing done pretty quickly, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, it's actually going really, really smoothly. All right, so this is gonna drive some of y'all bonkers, but I'm here just to tell you all the truth. You don't need to overthink and math out pleats. Just pleat the damn thing. eyeball it and adjust it as needed. That's how I was taught to do pleats, and it really is so much faster. I know that our modern sewing ideals make us think that pleats must be perfectly symmetrical and even, but we're not perfectly symmetrical and even. So as long as they look okay from the outside and they do their job, trust me when I say they're perfect. Also, I chose to do knife pleats going towards the center back instead of box pleats or gathers just because they're the easiest thing for me to do. My original skirt is just kind of roughly gathered, with an emphasis on rough. So the waistband is just a long rectangle piece of polished cotton with the raw edges folded inside. I had overcasted and folded over the top of the waistband, and then I just whipped everything together. This technique, once pressed, creates minimal bulk around the waist and is a very strong attachment technique. This is the most common form of waistband attachment for the 19th century. Okay, so here's what we have left to do on the skirt. It is just to even up the hem and to hem the skirt and to apply hooks and eyes for the closure. Here's the deal with the hooks and eyes. I will not be doing that today because when I started this project, I was ironing polished cotton, and you can see it has a nice glaze on it. Turns out this doesn't absorb steam the way normal fabrics do. So I was just sitting there and I was just steaming this thing. I was just like, rah, steam it! Because I always iron with steam. The steam shot out the sides of the iron instead of down into the fabric and the fabric pad. And I was ironing right next. This is like a Makara Tours type of thing, like what I'm getting ready to go into, and I apologize in advance for it. But it was like on the edge of my ironing board, and I was ironing and the steam shot out, and all I had on was the linen, the orangey linen button-up shirt, which isn't very thick, and it hit me right at the belly button, and it burnt me badly, worse than I thought it had. So when I went to bed that night, I'm like, oh yeah, I burnt my stomach, but it's fine. Like, it's just a little red welt, like no big deal. And I opened it and I was like, no, I mean, like, I'm not gonna tell you guys what I had to do. But anyways, the long story short is that I'm wounded. I have a flesh wound. It is on my stomach and it is unpleasant, and I will not be wearing a corset until it is healed. I'm just like, you know what, I'll just do the hooks and eyes and like do the final test fit like once my tum-tum is healed up, because it's not worth it. I'm still working on perfecting my hem technique using this velveteen bias, but this is how I did it on the skirt. I folded the hem over in the silk and basted it down, so the seam allowance essentially. Then I cut out the bias strips of cotton velveteen about 3 inches wide. From there, I machine sewed it down right sides together on the outside, folded and pressed the binding down and up into the inside of the skirt. From there, I just folded the raw edges in, and then I stitched down using a normal felling or hem stitch, making sure to only catch the lining. I cannot stress enough how important binding your skirt hem is when it comes to having and achieving the right look and silhouette. This skirt went from a bit floppy at the hem to holding its shape beautifully once the binding was on. Seriously, don't skip this step, y'all. It makes such a huge difference. Oh my god, that looks obscene.
He's a tramp, but I love him. Yes, even I have got it pretty bad.
Right. So, skirt is basically finished. I need to kind of tweak the hooks and eyes a little bit, but I also am like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I just don't. Like, Hi! Other than videos like this, like you're never gonna see it, so I don't know why I bother so much. I'm just keeping it the same quality that they would have during the period. So it's done. Obviously, I'm wearing it. I am extremely happy with it. The little concerns I had with the wrinkling around the waist, can you not? Pretty much, I think, fixed themselves. There's like some minor wrinkling, but it's mostly just from the extreme of my hips to my waist. And I could probably scoop out the waist a little bit more to help with that curve just ever so slightly. It's not a wrinkle that I think a dart would fix. It's more about like the shaping around the waist and the circular nature of the waist itself. Anyways, but when I put it on with this blouse, I'm like, or I'm sorry, shirt waist. I'm extremely happy with how it fits. The hang of this skirt is just so good. The structure with the interfacing and the tarlatan or the crinoline at the hem, the velveteen binding. Oh, it is so good. So good. So I'm extremely happy with how that has come out. The hem I'm a little on, but Again, I don't really care. Like, it's not like they had perfect hems back then. Why would I have a perfect hem now? I'm not one to fuss over hems. It's like, I might go back and fix it, but that's genuinely only if I'm looking at photographs and I get irritated looking at it, you know? Like, so we'll see. I can walk in this, no problem. I don't get caught up in the skirts. I don't trip over myself. The hem is a great length, even barefoot. Like, I don't have any shoes on right now, and I'm not tripping over the skirt when I'm walking around the house. So it's great, really. My butt pocket is like, I think we can play a game over like, what can I shove in my butt? Sorry, so Sting. The skirt is definitely extra. Like, it doesn't need to be this like amazing and like long. In real life, it could have been a lot shorter. I'm loving how this outfit looks. I'm loving how my body looks in this. I'm loving the shape that I'm giving. It took forever to get it done because of that massive burn on my stomach. But now that it's all healed up and I can wear the skirt and my corset, I'm really, really happy with how it came out. So the next part of this process and this recreation process is going to be making the bodice. And until next time, my friends, I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your week. And don't forget, I will see you back here very, very soon with another video. And with that, have a good one. Bye. Boop. Hi. Are you my tramp? Are you my tramp? Wrestle, 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 wrestle. Oh, goody boy. You mama's tramp.
I know what you're wearing to the movie theater when it starts back up again. Hide all the snacks. I know. I said the word snacks.